In this video, I'm going to share with you 15 questions to help you think and reflect on your year. And I'm going to share with you my top 10 learnings in 2020 this year. 2020 was not an ordinary year. It was a year of global turmoil, uncertainty, fear, isolation, difficulty, and loss for a lot of people. Luckily, I've been fortunate to be safe and healthy and well, and know that my family is also safe and well. Now, hard times are not fun, but they can lead to learning, growth, strength through reflection, if you do reflection. So when you reflect at the end of the year, like right now, you end up learning about yourself and developing more that self-awareness, which is so critical for growth. You realize how much you've gone through and you've done in the year. You honor that year with all of its good and bad. You process all that information, get some closure, and are able to remember more about it the following years. You feel good about yourself, you course correct for the following year, and you develop your critical thinking skills. So did you learn something about yourself, about someone else, about the world? So write down your top learnings from this year and then share them in the comments below. I'd love to see what your learnings were. Now here's a few questions to help you reflect on your year. So as you answer these questions, think about the good and the bad. Think about your career, your personal relationships, family, friends, love, finances, spiritual side, health, wellness, fitness. So here are the questions. Accomplishments. What are you proud of this year? What were your top accomplishments? What did you do that allowed you to have those accomplishments? Number 2, moments. What were the major moments or surprises that happened this year that impacted you or changed your life and routine? What were the most joyful moments? What were the saddest moments? What were the most energizing moments? What were the hopeful moments and the aha moments? Experiences. What experiences did you have this year? Any adventures? What did they teach you? Number 4, what were the emotional moments that you had of both joy and sorrow, courage and fear, fun and boredom? How did you feel and why? Number 5, interactions. What were some of the most memorable interactions that you've had with other people this year? Who did you interact with? How was the interaction? What did they say? What did you say? Why did you interact? Why was it memorable? Did you meet new people? Number 6, character. How would you describe your own character this year? Were you kind, generous, assertive, or were you negative, judgmental, and selfish? And why so? What character would make you proud of yourself going forward? Number 7, behaviors. What behaviors did you show this year at work with your family and friends in your solo time? What are you proud of these behaviors? Number 8, obstacles. What challenges did you meet and how did you handle them? And how did other people handle similar obstacles? Number 9, mistakes. What mistakes did you make this year? And what did you learn from those mistakes? That's the most important part. 10, senses. What did you hear, feel, sense? What did you read, watch, see, smell, taste that made you think, that made you feel? Maybe it was a book, a music, film, show, conversation, conference, training, object, food, anything else? 11, speaking up. When did you speak up for yourself or for others? Did you not speak up? Why so? 12, habits. What habits did you create and grow and incorporate this year? And which ones did you let go of, the bad habits? How did it change your life and make you feel? Number 13, regrets. Did you have any regrets? Number 14, opportunities. Which opportunities showed up in your life and did you embrace them or did you miss them? Number 15, more of and less of. What would you have wanted more of this year? What would you have wanted less of this year? And also take a moment to be grateful for these learnings and these experiences that you've had in life in this year. Now, before I move on to my top 10 learnings in 2020, I'd really, really appreciate if you just give it a like, a thumbs up, and write a comment below on, what you've learned in your lessons and your reflections this year. It really helped me because YouTube algorithm really needs your comments and your likes so that it can show my video to other people. Thank you so much. And here are my top 10 learnings in 2020. Number 1, activate your courage early. This year, I learned that my courage peaks in the early morning before I have time to think about why I shouldn't do or say what I want to do or say, before I have time to get busy and before I have time to get distracted. When I don't focus on my act of courage first thing in the morning, I procrastinate. So the same way that you'd reserve the start of the day for the most important or difficult tasks that you have, make sure that you reserve the start of the day for your biggest act of courage, be it reaching out to someone, asking for something, or sharing your opinion about a topic. Take courageous initiative early in the day, early in the week, early in the meeting, early in the project, early in the month, early in the job, early in your career, early in the conference. When you act with courage despite fear, early on, you're going to build that courage muscle, and you're going to start to associate your own identity. You can say, I am a courageous person. Number 2, leaders stand up for good values during controversial, difficult, and uncertain times. As COVID-19, economic turmoil, unemployment, racial discussions, social distancing, and so much more unfolded this year, I saw so many leaders rise to the challenges and speak up even more. Sure, there's plenty that didn't, but I did see a lot that did. And those were the leaders that I grew fonder of. They shared their principles, their messages, and they took a stand knowing that there would be backlash, which there was. Through their actions, I realized the leader that I wanted to be. I want to speak up during crisis. I want to share positive messages that challenge people to own their voices, especially during these hard times. I want to voice my ideas so that someone can benefit from it. That is why this year I decided to also share my principles and values in my content, because I want to lead with values, not just knowledge. So in challenging times, my friend, lead with positive values and principles. Number 3, you can't prevent a fire that is already burning. So this year I experienced the first earthquake that made me actually be quite scared. It was a 4.5 magnitude earthquake that happened at almost midnight here in Southern California. No major damage happened throughout the city. However, it did instill enough fear in me to motivate me to get my act together and to plan for natural disasters. So when it happened, I ran around the house and then settled under the living room table, right in the middle of the table, which was not the right thing to do. After I checked out and Googled and studied what I should have done, I realized I did not respond in the right way. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have the supplies I needed if there was like a power outage or the building fell down. So I made a list of supplies. I bought what I needed. I planned the best safety positions in every room of the house. I planned on how to communicate with other people. I also got a notice for fire evacuation for the first time this year, which I also then ended up planning for. So planning ahead of crisis is key, because you don't have much time to think and handle a crisis when it comes. Be it an earthquake, fire, hurricane, somebody robbing you, being fired, not having financial situation, heart attack, stroke, COVID, difficult conversation, whatever. It's uncomfortable to think about these things, but when planned ahead of time, it makes things so much easier. So for physical danger, have a safety plan. For situational, psychological, or emotional crisis, have a list of principles and an action plan. Know who to call for help and know what's important. Number 4, the best way to tackle conflict is with curiosity and acknowledgement. So this year we had the killing of the African-American George Floyd, which unleashed a bunch of protests and discussions in the national movement around Black Lives Matter. All my life, I've had many Black friends, and I consider myself very unbiased and inclusive. My first reaction to it all, though, was to prove that I wasn't racist to my African-American friends, which I later realized was a little bit of a selfish reaction. And I also noticed that I felt uncomfortable speaking up about the problem because I feared I would hurt, African-Americans' feelings no matter what I said. So I was scared to post about it on social media, even though I felt like I had to. And I didn't know what to say. I was too focused on problem solving. I also realized I misunderstood the problem with all lives matter. So as I thought through about how to engage in the Black Lives Matter movement, I turned to curiosity, to listening, to empathy, and I learned how important acknowledgement was. That widespread prejudice is not going to just dissipate suddenly. It's not going to go away, but African Americans want others to acknowledge their real struggle, and that's true for any situation where there's conflict. So whenever in conflict, whenever in fear of backlash from others, whenever in fear of speaking up, whenever in fear of saying the wrong things, whenever in fear of hurting the people's feelings, whenever in fear in general, just activate your curiosity, but don't shy away from those uncomfortable conversations. Number 5, learning without implementation is just amusement. I've always loved attending conferences, and this year I was fortunate enough to attend many online conferences and events. I showed up fully, I took part in the discussions, I took notes, and I even created an action list of all the things that I wanted to implement. However, as soon as the event ended, I was back to my normal life, and if I didn't implement anything fast enough, it just disappeared in my memory and never got implemented. I feel like I enjoy these events, but I wasted precious time because I consumed information but didn't take any action. I intended to act, but following through was such a large project in itself that I was never ready to start. So I decided to adopt a different strategy. After a conference or reading a book, I planned some mini actions that I could implement in just a few hours, but that would give me that feeling of progress. And those mini actions reinforced the learning and helped me start moving forward. So consider how you're going to use the information you learn in a course, event, book. Plan to implement what you learned, even if in a minor way. 6, you have a lot more wisdom than you give yourself credit for. I always struggled with imposter syndrome, and sometimes I felt like what I had to say was not worthwhile and not worth other people's time. And sometimes I feel like I don't have anything meaningful to say or share. So this year, for the first time in my life, I started to regularly publish content to the world through articles, videos, and infographics like this one. And as I prepared the content, I discovered that there's a lot more wisdom inside of me than I thought there was. And I realized I had stories, experiences, perspectives that were unique and valuable. If you aren't used to sharing your thoughts, ideas, and perspectives in conversations online, in meetings, or in events, then I really invite you to start doing so. You're going to be amazed with the gold that you can find inside of your brain and your soul. 7, dreaming increases focus a little, but doing increases focus a lot. Last year, I wrote about 200-page business plan for this company at startedway.com. I did tons of research and a lot of planning, and I was excited and energized with the prospect of the business, but I was very distracted and found it a little bit hard to stay focused. So this year, I've continued to try to be more focused and productive. I've learned that the more real work I do, the more I built, wrote, and shared, the more focused I became. I learned that action taking increases my focus more than any planning, visualizing, and studying does, which is my comfort zone. So if you want to be more focused and productive, then get more outputs completed. It's going to boost your energy and make you want to keep the momentum going. 8, don't side with positions, side with people. So as I watched all this political action happen this year in the US, I noticed how many people strongly connect to one or of the two main political parties and not the actual leaders or their intent. I also noticed that many people judge others based on their political party that they support. There's fear, there's hatred, and there's focus on differences. And I just really wish people could see people. Not political parties, not race, not income level, not nationality, not professions, not sexual orientation, not gender, not religion, not age. Right? Let's bring humanity back in people. In negotiation training, if you've ever done it, you learn how to avoid these fixed positions and focus on interests. And this year I saw a lot of positions loaded with judgment and anger. One way to see beyond positions is to expand your network, to include a more diverse set of people. People from different cultures, cities, ages, genders, political views, ethnicities, countries, income level, professions. Talk to them, ask about what matters to them, get to know them as people. 9, for people pleasers, the quickest path to confidence is courage to speak up. If you are a people pleaser like me or a nice person, you're always thinking about these negative what if scenarios, like what if they get upset at you? What if they don't like you? What if they think you're stupid? These what ifs are deep in your belief system and they're based in fear. So the best way to overcome them is to prove them wrong by doing what you fear the most and seeing what happens. That's why you gotta cultivate courage. Courage to be yourself, courage to speak up, courage to let others be upset, and specifically to let others be upset with you. With courage, you're going to start to experiment new behaviors and you're going to soon discover how your belief and assumptions are wrong. You're going to notice positive outcomes that are going to change your belief system and build your confidence. Number 10, get free joy with a hygge routine. So in January, as I and a couple headed for wine tasting in Napa Valley for a birthday celebration in a cold, crisp evening, these friends introduced me to the word hygge. I looked it up, and since then I've been a fan of this Danish and Norwegian lifestyle term. I've incorporated hygge in my morning, evening, and weekend routines, and I feel amazing. Denmark is known as the world's happiest country, even though they have long, dark, and cold winters, which often leads to sadness and depression because that's what happens when you're in the dark and cold all the time. So to better cope with these long, dark winters, they created a whole new way of life that brought joy, conviviality, and coziness to their days and nights. You can practice hygge alone with a small group of people during the day, at night, at home, at work, in nature. It's a practice of essentially slowing down and enjoying the simple things in life. So the classical hygge example is the ritual of sitting by the fireplace on a cold night with a hot cup of aromatic tea, hot chocolate or mulled wine, candle lit, in a dim room with soft music, with a comfy clothing, very comfortable, covered with a soft blanket, eating a warm soup, reading a book, spending time with 1, 2, 3 more people, or even calling a loved one. Another way to enjoy hygge is to spend quiet time enjoying nature. And during times of social distancing, constant negativity in the news, and disconnection, where you may not be able to go to restaurants, events, or holiday parties, it's important to learn how to enjoy life in new ways like the Danish do. So hygge is a social distancing friendly and holiday compatible practice. Try it out and invite someone that you care about to do the same. Once again, if you like this video, I'd really appreciate if you give it a like and write a comment below on what you've learned this year. It's going to really help me because, again, the algorithm in YouTube requires that so that they can promote my material. Also, if you want to see when my new videos come out and when they're released and not miss them, then hit the bell so you can be notified as soon as they come out. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve you today. I wish you joyful, blissful holidays. Be confident and caring, my friends, and I shall see you next week.